What is up, everybody? Jeremy Icenfire here, and welcome back to another House of the Dragon Season 2 video. Season 2 of House of the Dragon is scheduled to begin filming this month, and there are a ton of new characters that we can look forward to meeting when Season 2 does officially hit our screens. And out of all of the appearances that we are going to be seeing in Season 2, I am probably looking forward to House Stark making their triumphant return to the screen the most, in the form of Cregan Stark and his notorious Winter Wolves, led by the fearless Roddy the Ruin. And with recent rumors going around about a potential casting for Roddy the Ruin, I figured now would be a good time to do a deep dive into these fearless Northern warriors known as the Winter Wolves, who we could most likely be looking forward to meeting in Season 2 of House of the Dragon. With House Stark set to make its triumphant return to the screen in Season 2 of House of the Dragon, most people are probably looking forward to seeing Cregan Stark on screen the most, as I am as well. But there are some other Stark forces that I am really looking forward to seeing on screen, ones that we will probably be spending a lot more time with than Cregan Stark in Season 2. And that is, of course, the Winter Wolves, led by the notorious Roddy the Ruin. At the end of Season 1 of House of the Dragon, we saw Rhaenyra's sons, Jacaerys and Lucerys, depart Dragonstone in the hopes of winning over some of the great houses who have still yet to declare for either side. Unfortunately for Lucerys, however, upon his arrival at Storm's End to treat with Lord Baratheon, he is met with none other than Aemon Targaryen and his mighty dragon, Vhagar, where Lucerys would ultimately meet his end at the Battle above Shipbreaker Bay. Jacaerys' journey, however, is ultimately just beginning, which will eventually bring him to the north, meeting with Cregan Stark at Winterfell. The two would go on to form what would become known as the Pact of Ice and Fire, with House Stark ultimately pledging to fight for Rhaenyra and the Blacks. But the north is incredibly vast and incredibly remote, the biggest of the Seven Kingdoms, in fact, and it would take quite a while for Cregan Stark to gather all of his forces and make the march south. So in order to aid Rhaenyra while the remainder of his army gathered in the north, he sent a splinter force known as the Winter Wolves, who would join the fighting immediately. The Winter Wolves were a force of 2,000 grizzled old northern warriors who are no strangers to blood and battle, led by the legendary Roderick Dustin, aka Roddy the Ruin, the Lord of Barrowtown at the time. It has long been a custom in the north for older men to leave their houses upon winter, in the hopes of preserving the limited amount of supplies available to the northern houses. And the Winter Wolves were predominantly made up of such men, grizzled old graybeards who came to, quote, die for the Dragon Queen. And none of these Winter Wolves was more feared or more respected than their leader, Roddy the Ruin. Already very advanced in years at the start of the Dance of the Dragons, Roddy the Ruin was still considered one of the most savage combatants on the battlefield. He wore a shield, a helm, and always carried a war horn into battle, while the rest of the Winter Wolves were armored in old mail with ragged skins, and rode shaggy northern horses wielding axes, mauls, spiked maces, and ancient iron swords. But don't let their age and willingness to die in battle for glory fool you. These were some of the most experienced fighters the North had to offer. And that would be proven very early on during the very first battle that the Winter Wolves would take place in during the Dance of the Dragons, the battle by the lakeshore, where they would beg for the honor of leading the vanguard and charging the attack. Charging at the Lannister spearmen 5 different times, the Winter Wolves would eventually become victorious, although they would lose about 2/3 of their force in the process, with Roderick himself becoming scarred in the battle. Then, later on, during a battle that would become known as the Butcher's Ball, after the death of a very major character over on the Greens, it would be Roderick Dustin himself that would sound his war horn and lead the charge in the attack, which would go on to slaughter the rest of the Green forces that were present. Then we get to the first Battle of Tumbleton, where the Winter Wolves would face their final challenge and perhaps find that glorious death that they were so longingly searching for when the Dance of the Dragons began. And Roderick would achieve exactly that when he would lead the last of the Winter Wolves in a fight against Lord Ormond Hightower and his cousin Sir Brendan Hightower, where, in a savage 2-on-1 fight, Lord Brendan Hightower would chop off Roderick Dustin's shield arm, but being frenzied in the attack, Lord Dustin would still manage to kill both Lord Hightowers before succumbing to his wounds. And I must say, I'm really looking forward to seeing that on screen. A one-armed Lord Dustin just going absolutely berserk and killing Lord Hightower and his cousin before succumbing to his wounds is a pretty epic death, to say the least. If that's the route they end up going with the Winter Wolves, that is. Who knows, the show might end up using them in an entirely different capacity. But there you have it, folks. House Stark is officially set to make their return to the screen in House of the Dragon Season 2, and I cannot wait to meet both Cregan Stark and Roddy the Ruin, and some of the other Winter Wolves as well. I really hope some of the other ones get characterized as well and aren't just background characters. But let me know down in the comment section below, are you looking forward to seeing House Stark make their return to House of the Dragon Season 2? And what other characters from Fire and Blood are you hoping to see on screen? I would love to know. But that is going to do it for us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications to stay up to date on all of our upcoming content, as we will be covering everything House of the Dragon and all things A Song of Ice and Fire. And check out my Life of Cregan Stark video, which will be linked down below in the description, where I go deep in depth into the life of Cregan Stark, both before and after the Dance of the Dragons. And that is going to do it for us today. I want to thank everybody out there for watching, and we will see you on the next one.